It's happening. So, how to use speaking to grow your business? This, I put this up there because a lot of times when I'm speaking, if I'm talking about speaking, I assume that people know that I've got the creds to talk about speaking, not just because I'm a professional speaker, but because virtually everything that professional speakers put on their dream list of to-dos, I've done. So I've been really, really fortunate to get into this industry at the beginning of what became known later as the human potential movement. And I literally worked with Earl Nightingale, Norman Vincent Peale, Zig Ziglar, W. Clement Stone, Og Mandino, uh, lots of the big, big names that were sort of the icons in the early days of this business, like a Tony Robbins would be today. Um, so when I'm talking about professional speaking, I'm not just talking about being a motivator. I'm not just talking about doing seminars. I'm talking about all the different ways you can drive money into your account using your speaking skill and speaking strategies to grow that business. I'd like you to take a photo of this or click the link if you've got two items to use, like a phone and a computer. But this QR code and the link just below it takes you to my digital business card. My digital business card is based in what's called high level, and I'll show you something here just in a second. When you get to the digital business card, here's what you will see. So you'll see my picture and you'll see, save to your telephone button and text me button and my social media links and my TED talk and call me and uh, more than that, shoot me a message and receive my free ebook on public speaking. So that's what I wanted you to see is this book, What to Do When You're the Speaker. If you don't already have a copy of that, you can download it for free and just go to that. And that's the cover of the book. This is the one that Les Brown did the video endorsement of it, and virtually everybody you ever heard of also endorsed it over time. So that's just a freebie for you. So, what's the agenda today? Become more intelligent about using speaking. The essence of intelligence is the ability to make distinctions. If you notice more about an automobile than I do, you know more about how to deal with it, how to repair it, how to upgrade it, and how to use it. The more you notice about anything, the more you know. And the more you know, the more options you see. And the person with the most options usually prevails. So if you want to be better at anything, start by noticing more about it. And the way to notice more is look for patterns. Don't just look at what you see, look at the repeating patterns in what you see. Like those are all cars. Well, most of those cars are red. Wonder what that's about. Those red cars, most of those are Cadillacs. Huh. Wonder if there's a Cadillac dealer near here. So the more you notice about anything and pick up on those patterns, the more inferences you can make and the more possibilities you can see. And then as you get to know more and more about whatever your subject is, look for the principles that drive the patterns. Why is that so? What's that based on? Why does that matter? And keep asking why until you hit solid rock and you don't get any new answers. That's when you know you've found the core of the issue, right? As a speaker, which of these is more powerful? I want you to answer this in the chat, if you will. Which is more powerful? Is it, just a second, I'm going to put my chat over to the side. Is it message preparation or messenger preparation that adds the most power? What do you think? Now, if you are of the Toastmasters persuasion, if when you think about speaking, you think about it from a class on public speaking or a Toastmasters group or a Dale Carnegie course or something like that, then you tend to focus most on the message. In other words, the speech. But what's usually not emphasized is the messenger. Someone said to me, I was in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia the other day, speaking to 800 people for 5 hours through a translator, live on stage in front of the group, as opposed to the ears where you hear the translator from the back of the room. And they said, so how do we become a great public speaker? And I said, you don't do it by learning great speech making. You do it by becoming the kind of person everybody wants to learn from, and then you agree to show up and speak for pay. Now, that may sound like it's kind of dismissive or silly, but I mean that sincerely. If you think about it, Stephen Hawking was not a good speaker. In fact, could not speak with his own voice, had to use a machine. He was in a wheelchair. He couldn't use facial expressions or gestures. And yet, he was a popular speaker and was paid high fees for his appearances. He had none of the abilities that would allow him to be a good speaker as such, but he was paid high fees for appearing. So if you're a good enough resource, you don't need any of the usual techniques to be a successful speaker. But let's look at what is public speaking to you. And I'm going to show you a whole bunch of different ones. And I just want you to make a note, how kind of keep a count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, of how many of these you probably use and or will use to grow your own speaking business. Okay. Let me go back to slide presentation. Speaking at colleges and universities, teaching a class, earning a degree, and at the same time speaking, receiving awards and participating, giving awards like in Toastmasters International and other groups like that. Being a presenter, if you belong to a Rotary Club or a Kiwanis or something, or some kind of a neighborhood club or a sports club, and you're making a presentation, that's part of speaking. There's casual speaking, there's formal speaking, there's semi-formal, business attire level of speaking. There's speaking from your own living room or your own office where you've got a green screen behind you and you're doing a podcast or a Zoom call or something, as I'm doing right now. There's participating as a host or a co-host on a public show. Like this is a screenshot of me appearing on the PBS show Perspectives Matter, where I'm one of the co-hosts. And that goes through PBS station out of Dallas, nationwide. TED Talks. This is the one I did back in 2013 that now has almost 3 million views. And it was only 8.5 minutes long. Quick tip, if you do a TED Talk, keep it under 10 minutes, because the shorter they are, the more they get watched. Give it a compelling title. This one is titled How to Believe in Yourself, because everybody tells you you should, but almost nobody tells you how to do it. And then make sure the screenshot, the thumbnail that's used to post it, is a compelling one. Ironically, the TED Talks that get the most views are the ones with a sexy woman shot. So, just go for whatever's going to be most visually appealing and whatever title is going to be most compelling, and then keep it under 10 minutes and you will get more views. How do I know this? Well, mine's gotten 3 million views, 2 million of which came in the first few years, 2 or 3 years it was out. I was getting 1,000 views a day worldwide when that first came out. I was one of 16 TED presenters at that conference that day in Delray Beach, Florida. And the other 15 were all excellent presenters, but theirs got tens of thousands of views. Mine got millions. Why? Because of those 3 things I just shared with you. Is your speaking doing big seminars, or is it doing small seminars? Is it presenting, performing on stage like Robin Kriesman and I would do, playing guitar, singing, that sort of thing? Is it giving actually being literally a toast master, offering the toast at a wedding or an event like that? Is it officiating at a wedding or an event like that? Is it having your name up in lights? Is it being on the big stage, speaking to huge groups, speaking internationally? This one's in Poland. Half the group have headsets on with a translator in the back of the room. The others speak English. And I'm working there in Warsaw, Poland. Is it serious speaking, like on the left there? Or is it humorous speaking where you're playful and interacting with the audience? Is it speaking through interpreters? This is Kitty Chun, my favorite interpreter of all time, who's just so good at it. She not only gets what I say, she gets what it means. And that's powerful. Is it leading meetings, being the chair of a meeting or conducting discussions, that sort of thing? And there's an art to that one. Is it serving on a panel like me with Joe Willard here? Is it standing up in the audience and speaking? By the way, look at this guy's notes. That's his version of my acorn logo that he put in his notes that day in Taiwan. Is it appearing on radio broadcasts or podcasts, being on other people's shows? Is it creating videos, training programs of your own material for others to consume later? Look at this group. See them? All of them are looking at one person. And the one person whose face you can't see is, in fact, doing public speaking. She's speaking and a group is listening. She probably doesn't think of that as public speaking. She just thinks of it as a discussion at a table. What makes the difference is not whether you're speaking in public or not, it's how you regard what you're doing. Why do people get scared of speaking in public? Because they're not scared of speaking in public. They do it all the time. They're scared of being judged. That's where the fear comes from. So here, I'm in the audience in this one. So those are all types of public speaking. Some speakers aspire to get the Speaker Hall of Fame award and receive the Cavett Award for a lifetime of service in the National Speakers Association. That's me on the far right. And we've got a few CPEs up there on the stage that have joined with me there. Is it forming your own business? When I formed my business as a speaker, and that was literally how I started, I wanted to be a speaker. I wanted to be like Cavett Robert, like Earl Nightingale. Cavett was a motivator standing on stages. Earl was a inspirational speaker who was on 900 radio stations around the world. But I wanted to grow up to be like them. And so when I formed Cathcart Institute back in 1977, I formed it based on these three things: motivation, that's this, the speaking on stages; strategy, that's the consulting and the mentorship; and training, that's doing classes and seminars and workshops. And I chose the logo of an acorn because it's a universal symbol of potential. And I showed a person emerging triumphantly from the acorn as that part of the logo. And the logo, if you look at it closely, looks like the two letters C and I, lowercase I, Cathcart Institute. So everything about that reinforces what my whole theme and message is about, which is personal growth, professional growth, and it's all using the colors of nature: forest green, earth brown, harvest gold. So all of that comes together quite nicely and reinforces everything else. So Daniel Burris is a good friend of mine. He's a futurist, a self-made multimillionaire, started out as a science teacher ages ago and decided to specialize in technological research. So he started researching all the different technologies that were emerging in society. Everything from the early days of cell phones to laptop computers to the use of the internet and so forth when he first started out, to all the things that he sees today, that make AI sound pedestrian. I mean, this guy is a serious brain and really does a lot of research. In his book, Anticipatory Organization, The Anticipatory Organization, he talks about how to read the patterns and principles to become more intelligent about what's going on in the world and to be able to predict the future. And when he gets up to give a speech, he will typically say, "Good morning. I'm going to predict the future and I'm going to be right." And people, look at him skeptically and he says, "How do I know?" Because I'm not going to tell you about anything that might be. I'm going to tell you about what already is, but hasn't been widely publicized yet.
Hmm.
And then we can talk about the implications of what that will do in society. Interesting. So Dan says if people don't know what's possible, they ask for too little. That's why I say notice more, because the more possibilities you see, the more options you have. And the more options you have, the more likely you are to win. Okay. This is Bob Pike and me. Bob was a pioneer in the field of personal development with a company called Adventures in Attitudes. He passed away about a year or so ago, but he was a dear friend and a fellow Speaker Hall of Fame member. We're standing in front of the statue of Cavett Robert, the founder of the National Speakers Association. You see over behind me here, over at the wall, that's the Cavett Award, the statue, when I received it in the year 1993. So, how do you become a great speaker? Become a great resource. Be worth paying to listen to, and then just agree to give speeches. Now, many of you know me, and you know that my book, The Acorn Principle, is one of my home run products over the 50 years or so that I've been a professional speaker. And the Acorn Principle boils down to one simple thing, and that is the seed of your future successes is already in you. So don't change, evolve, become more of what you're capable of being, excuse me. And there's the logo once again. When you look at an audience, take this perspective. You're not up there in front of them all alone. Every one of them is pulling for you. Every one of them. Even if they don't like you, they're hoping you do a good job and it's valuable today, right? So be the person they hope you are. Don't be a perfect speaker. Be a powerful communicator. Be a trusted source. Be a reliable guide. I started speaking on this particular theme in 1977. This article is in Positive Living magazine, 1978. The photograph was taken that same year at the National Speakers Convention, the first time I ever attended. It was in Louisville, Kentucky. But notice, my message is develop in you the qualities that make others want to pay you to help them. Develop in you the qualities that make others want to be your next door neighbor, that others want to have you as one of the parents in their child's parents group, that they want you to be their school teacher. They want you to be their trusted advisor. Be that kind of person. Be the kind of friend you want other people to be to you. And by developing those qualities, you become a magnet for what you want in the world. I got that message from Earl Nightingale. He was my mentor by audio cassette when I first started out. And I listened to him fanatically, literally fanatically, for at least every day, sometimes 2 and 3 hours a day, for almost 5 years running. So his imprint, the way he thought, and the message he shared is deep, deep in my psyche. And so that's my approach. Now, Zig Ziglar took a different approach, compatible, but different. When Zig was building his career, the underlying theme was you can get everything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. Napoleon Hill said, think and grow rich. If you get the right thinking, the right mindset, and learn how to sustain that mindset, then you will activate what's known as the law of attraction, and things will come to you. Things that you want will come to you. My friend John Mitchell, who's a CPE, certified professional expert, wrote a book called The Missing Secret from Think and Grow Rich. And John discovered it when he was about 50 years old and absolutely transformed his life. He had been doing pretty well, making $200,000 or $300,000 a year up to age 50. But when he discovered this secret after about the 20th reading of the book Think and Grow Rich, he started earning millions. And now he's generating $5 million a year. He could be retired, but he's a professor at the University of Texas, McCombs School of Business, and I've been a guest lecturer in his class now 3 times. But he teaches success skills. And it all boils down to one simple theme, kind of like it did with Earl Nightingale, with me, with Zig, the others. His simple theme is this. He says, what you visualize in detail on a daily basis with grateful expectation will show up in your life. What you visualize in detail on a daily basis with grateful expectation that it will happen will show up in your life. Pretty powerful stuff. So think about, in your belief system, what's at the core of the core of the core of the core of you? And then make sure everything else you do reflects that on some level. That's true integrity. So what kind of speaker do you need to be to have the future you want? Do you want to be like Cavett Robert, or like those that have earned the Cavett Award? Do you want to be a certified speaking professional? Do you want to just be a person who has a successful business and speaking helps you drive the revenue? Cool. Go for it. Now, these are what I call the moving parts of a meeting. By the way, for those of you that are trying to transcribe this, don't. This is being recorded and I'm going to post it on Facebook, so you'll be able to retrieve the whole thing later on. But the moving parts of any meeting, this meeting or any other meeting you attend, are all on some level within your control, even if you're an attendee and not the person in charge of the meeting. First off, the messenger. Sometimes in a meeting, you're the one that ought to be delivering the message. Sometimes not so much. I belonged for 29 years to a high-level mastermind in the speaking profession known as Speakers Round Table. And Cavett Robert, among others, were members of that. In one year, we were at a meeting in Dallas, and I decided that I wanted to propose we change our name from Speaker Associates, which it had been for many years, to Speakers Round Table, which seemed to reflect more accurately what we were all about. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, if I bring this up, since I've participated 3 or 4 times in the meeting already, I'm more likely to get resistance than quick acceptance. So I turned to my colleague, Danny Cox, Speaker Hall of Fame member, and I said, Danny, what do you think about this idea? And he said, yeah, it's a great idea. I said, would you make the motion? He said, well, why don't you make it? I said, because I've talked too much. He said, okay. So he said, hey, I move we change our name to Speakers Roundtable. I said, I second. So I got myself in there quickly to make sure it was on the table for discussion. And sure enough, we changed our name that day because it just made such good sense. But sometimes you don't have to be the person who delivers the message. Just be the person shaping the message. The message itself, a lot of times you fall victim to what I fall victim to, which is TMI, too much information. And it's hard to know how to get things down to just the core to be sure that that's going to work, right? But that's where your power is. So don't necessarily feel you always have to deliver all the message, because the audience doesn't know. They don't know how much of the message still remains. Deliver the parts that are most compelling. The delivery. Sometimes your best delivery might be not to tell them, but to pose a question or create an exercise and have discussion among the people. let them sell themselves on the idea. Or maybe you hand out something, or maybe you just simply put an image on the screen and sit and look at it with them in silence. So there's a lot of ways to change the delivery. The audience, the nature of your message and the time frame and the location of the message to a large extent will influence who is or could be in the audience. But I think we ought to be intentional about who's in the audience. For years in Thousand Oaks, California, I was the chair of an event which was the annual fundraising gala for the Boys and Girls Clubs. And we were able to take that from generating a few $1,000s to generating, most recently, $1 million in one night to a group of 600 people at the Four Seasons Hotel in Thousand Oaks. $1 million for the Boys and Girls Clubs. Biggest one I ever chaired raised about 280,000. But how did we do that? Well, first off, we didn't just sell tickets to it. We only sold tickets to people that were likely to bid big dollars in the silent auction or the live auction. So the people in the room were big buyers to start with, and they believed in the Boys and Girls Clubs to start with. So at the beginning of the event, we knew we were going to get more money because no matter what we had priced the tickets at, and they were hefty, like $500 a person, we knew that the folks there would say, hey, I don't know what are these items that I should bid on, but I want to add an extra 10,000 to what I'm doing. Okay, come on down, right? So be strategic about your audience. And the setting. The setting could be, I've spoken by a pool in a condo complex in Palm Springs where everybody in the meeting was in bathing suits and I was in a sport coat and tie. I quickly got rid of the tie and the sport coat and rolled up my sleeves. But I mean, for heaven's sakes, that's not like your typical meeting room, right? But you can control the setting and you can shape the setting to be more compatible to what you want to do. Agenda. What comes first? What comes absolutely last? What is in the quick idea dump? Ding, 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 ding. And many times in an agenda, in a meeting, you can present a whole bunch of things in advance or with paperwork and have the people look at it and then take one vote or get one acceptance of that whole group of ideas and save a lot of time. So there's lots of ways to shape the agenda. And then the resources could be anything from handouts to tools to toys to you name it. This was last week's handout. Pretty fancy. Got embossing on it. It's got me in the center and the other speakers from the Kuala Lumpur conference. And even the interior is in color. Wow. When I got on stage, now I'm getting on stage in front of a whole bunch of people who speak Mandarin Chinese, and I'm going to be talking through an interpreter. And what they're expecting is what they've gotten from their other speakers over the last few years, which is the speaker comes in, delivers a presentation, they have handouts with blank spaces like complete this sentence. You can get everything you want in life if you just help enough blank. Other people get what they want, says Zig Ziglar, right? That kind of fill in the blanks. And that's what my client asked me to do. I said, no. They said, no. I said, no, I'm sorry, that's not how I work. They said, okay, what do you want? So when they put together my portion of the seminar, they did put together a good piece of it with a lot of those key ideas from my presentation, followed by some space to make notes. When I got up to speak, I said, ladies and gentlemen, I know what you're accustomed to is coming to a meeting like this, completing notes like that on the first few pages of your handouts, and feeling like you have learned what you were there to learn. That's not how this works. Today, we're going to have this available for you if you want just a book about what I talked about. But the most important part of today's handout is right here. It's the blank pages in the back of it, where you write down the things that occurred to you, that mattered to you, that you wanted to remember. Because the most important part of this meeting is not what I say, it's what you think or do as a result of what I've said. So sometimes the way we use resources can shape the nature of the meeting. So I'm going to run over this one pretty quickly. It just draws a distinction between paid professional speaking and typical public speaking. Typical public speaking is about the speech. Paid speaking is about the effect of hearing the speech. So it's about outcomes and the impact on the audience. And so it's more flexible. And at the end, down there at the bottom, you see in public speaking, the client is responsible for whatever comes up. Building catches on fire, lights go out, something like that, medical emergency in the audience. The client handles that. In professional speaking, you and I are in charge of everything. So if something comes up, we handle it. I've evacuated 700 people from a third level basement ballroom in Washington, D.C. on a cold November day long ago into a snowy, frozen outdoors because the building was on fire. It caught on fire during my speech. And I knew how to evacuate the room because, wait for it, I had shown up early and gone through every exit door in the room to see where it led. And the exit doors on one side and the back of the room all led to a hallway that would take you all the way around to the other side of the room where there's a direct exit to the stairs up to the street. So I knew that. It would be useless, in fact, dangerous for people to exit through the doors to my right or rear. And it would be very effective if they exited through the doors to their rear or my left. I've had medical emergencies where I've had to pause and say, ladies and gentlemen, is anyone here a doctor or a nurse or an emergency medicine technician? You know, please, we've got an emergency right here. And we'd pause and take care of that. And then I'd start it back up. I had one meeting that we were in a small hotel. There were about 200 or 300 of us in a ballroom on the ground floor. And outside our meeting room was a long hallway, at the end of which was a big glass exterior door. So there was light coming from there into the hallway. We're in a meeting room with the door closed. In the middle of my speech, all the lights went out and we were in pitch dark. And the people all oohed and awed. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, I said, you can still hear me? Yes. And they said, yes. So somehow magically the mic was still working. I said, I don't know if this is an emergency or not, but would someone near the door please open the doorway to the hallway and go and see if this is an emergency so we should evacuate, or if not? And so a person did that, and they came back in just a moment and they said, no, we're good. It's just a light switch problem. You know, they blew a fuse. And I said, okay, leave the door open. So we got ambient light coming in. You can see a little bit, but not much. And I asked the audience, I said, look, we've got about 20 minutes left in this talk. I can do it in 12 or so. If you would like, instead of us going out and wandering the hall and then having trouble getting back in here in time and cramming everything into the last 5-minute recap, you can sit there and just close your eyes and chill, and I'll finish the rest of this presentation. Which do you prefer, dark or take a break? And they said, dark. I said, okay. So I finished my talk in the dark, and then we adjourned early, and everything worked fine. So you're responsible. Even if you're not technically responsible, you're the only one with a microphone. You're the only one everybody's paying attention to. So know how to handle the emergencies that come up. Now, this I'm going to run through rather quickly because I want to leave plenty of time for dialogue. The National Speakers Association, an association of a few thousand professional speakers that was formed in 1973 by Cathcart Robert and a few of his colleagues. I joined in 1976 when we had about 200 members. Years later, we were bestowing the certified speaking professional designation on people, but there was a problem with it that bothered me. It was the board of directors that would choose who qualified and who didn't each year, and the discussions would go on forever. And I was on the board. And so I spoke up in 1984 and I said, hey, excuse me. I said, guys and gals, we got a problem. We're giving the certified speaking professional designation based on sales success. It's more or less a frequent flyer award for people who've sold a lot of speeches. And we need to change it to give it more substance. It needs to be educationally based and a bunch of other things. And the president at the time, Robert Henry, said, okay, Jim, you're in charge. Should have known. So anyway, I went on what became a 5-year chairmanship to create a set of professional competencies, competency being a set of skills that were essential for a person to truly be certified as a professional speaker. And I brought this back to the board of directors 2 or 3 times before they finally approved it. And now it is the backbone of NSA's professional education. It breaks down into 4 categories. The first of those categories they call ethics, although it's much broader than that because it's knowing your profession and knowing how to connect with the different types of players in your profession. So what is it? It means knowing the industry, basically. If you are in speaking and you don't know the speaking industry, then you're going to be struggling like crazy to get enough engagements or get well enough known to build a business out of it. If you're in the transmission business and you don't know the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association and their expo, and you don't know what SEMA, Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association, which used to be Speed Equipment Manufacturers, if you don't know those things, you don't know your industry. So you're not going to know your place within it or the paths available to you for growth. So step number 1 is to know the profession itself. Number 2 is to understand how do you connect with people in, say, the field of speaking. Well, there's partnerships, there's affiliates, there's licensees, there's teaching their courses, being a certified instructor, having them teach your courses. There's collaborations, there's co-authorship, there's 1,000 different ways to connect with people. There's speakers bureaus and different relationships with bureaus, exclusive agency, boutique bureaus, general representation, so on and so forth. So that tells you what's ethical, what's not ethical, what works, who the players are, and what you need to know. Second competency, expertise. You got to be worth paying for what you do. So it means in speaking, topic development. How do you go deep on your particular topic or specialty and become known as an expert in that particular niche? And how do you multiply that through authorship and product development to get it out to other people, whether online or in print or in recording or whatever? Next is eloquence. That's the speaking part. So there's a craft and art both around presenting and performing. That's doing the speech. And there's platform mechanics, which is stagecraft, knowing lighting and sound and movement and placement and all the moving parts of a meeting, right? Now, typically, speech courses only focus on the presenting and performing. They don't address the profession. They don't address the development of the message depth and making it more meaningful and more valuable. They just focus on the stagecraft. The next competency is enterprise, turning this into money. And that's sales and marketing, getting yourself booked. And at the same time, it's managing a business where you're the product and it's a solopreneur kind of an operation. So there's a uniqueness to this business. And what I did was I created this matrix so that every speech given, every seminar done, every panel discussion, every article in the magazine, every blog post, and every interview online and podcast of NSA addresses one or more of these 8 competencies that are under those 4 general headings. Same thing applies to every field, no matter what field you're in. So that's how to think about this. Now, if you think about the way most people look at it, they say, I'm going to join the National Speakers Association. Why? Because I want to book more speeches. In other words, sales and marketing is the only reason they're joining. I'm going to go to Toastmasters. Why? Because I want to be a better presenter. That's the only thing they're addressing. When you look at your profession from this broader perspective, you can tell what your homework needs to be next. Here are 10 of the biggest mistakes I've seen, and we're coming in for a landing here. Biggest mistakes I've seen speakers make. 1, trying to get an A on the speech. It's not about the speech. It's about the impact on the audience. Thinking the rest of the meeting is less important than your speech. You're simply an enhancement to what else is going on at that event. Assuming you know enough already. No, you don't. Study your audience, study their industry, study everything you can up until the moment of your presentation. Waiting till the speech to check the AV. Is this on? Hey, can you hear me in the back? About as unprofessional as it gets, right? Know that before you get up to speak. Leaving the setup entirely to others. No, no, no. Be in the room early, check it out. Take care of the things that might distract. Is there glare coming from a window across the room? Are the handouts in an awkward place? Are the chairs loud when you move them on the floor? If so, set them up so that they're slightly back from the table and people can sit down without the scooting noise. Do the things you can do. Using a curriculum, a CV, curriculum vitae, instead of an intro. Nah, just tell them in writing for the person that reads it. Here's why this speaker is speaking to this audience on this topic today. Now let's welcome our speaker. My intro says our speaker today is Jim Cathcart, and then it's got whatever credential of mine is relevant to that day's talk, whether it's about sales or leadership or speaking or whatever. But there's another side to Jim that's even more interesting. He's also been a nightclub singer, a bartender, a bill collector, an insurance agent, a meeting planner, an association executive, and a speaking coach. He may not be able to hold a job, but I understand he can hold an audience. So here's Jim. And I do that to get a laugh for the introducer. And I walk out into a room with a good mood going on. Ignoring the importance of humor. The old line, Dr. Charles Jarvis was one of the early NSA members. And someone said, Charlie, do we really need to use humor in our speeches? He says, no, not unless you want to get paid. So in every speech, there's some form of humor that's probably going to make it a whole lot more digestible. Focusing on the how to the exclusion of the why. I've been guilty of that many, many times. Instead of telling people why they ought to learn this, why they ought to do this, I give them all the details of how it works. Tell them why. And then not living up to the service commitment. That's another big mistake. What's the service commitment? It's a commitment that I make to my clients, and I send this out every time I'm booked. You don't have to write it down because it's not only in the speech notes here, it's in the book, What to Do When You're the Speaker. So this whole thing is in there for you, and you can download that book for free, as I said earlier. Here they are. My service commitment to my clients is 4 pages. I'm not going to read all this. But I tell them in preparation, here's what I'm going to do. I'll know who you are and why I'm speaking. I'll get it, who your organization is, and I'll stay in touch with you, right? When I arrive on site, I will let you know I'm there so you can relax. I'll stay available to you. I'll tell you the truth 100% of the time. I'll go to bed early the night before. I'm not going to go partying. I'll behave myself, right? I'll stay out of the way until it's my turn. During my talk, I will not use off-color language. I will not be rude to an audience member. I will use documented information that is solid, and I will not turn my speech into a sales pitch. If I offer anything, it'll be because you've given me permission to do so. And I'll stick to my time frame and adjust if I need to. And afterwards, I'll stick around for a little while. I'll answer questions. I will send you a recap of my expenses. I'll be available for people that want to follow up. And um, I will not share any of the sensitive information that I've learned about your organization. So my career for the longest time was about getting on stage, speaking, performing, just being a keynote speaker. But in 2020, I shifted from that to mentorship because as I've gotten older, I don't want to be on the plane all the time. I'm willing, but I don't want to be. And so I'm speaking less on big stages and more frequently doing what I'm doing right now, which is helping people grow as a mentor to them. So I wrote the book, What to Do When You're the Speaker, and Mentor Minutes, which is a book of 336 one-minute ideas of how to reach the top 1% of your field. And I put together the Professional Experts podcast and started certifying people to be professional experts. Now we have at least two certified professional experts that I know of in our audience today. We've got Robin Kriesman from Spring Branch, Texas, and we've got Dennis Madden from Henderson, Nevada. And both of them have been through the mentorship with me, and they've been to the Expert Summit and been certified as a professional expert. And they are exceptional examples of that. So, who are some other CPEs? Well, Dr. Nito Kubain of High Point University, Brian Tracy, Les Brown, Patricia Fripp, probably the best single speech coach in the world, Tony Alessandra, the leading authority on personality assessments, Todd Duncan, the main voice and biggest personality in the field of mortgage sales, Ivan Meisner, the founder of BNI, Business Networking International, Dr. Dennis Waitley, the author of The Psychology of Winning, who passed away sadly just a few months ago. So if you want to be among them, come with me and we'll make it happen. Here's my offer for you. This is, for those of you that want to go deeper, if you are interested in being a certified professional expert, assuming you meet the qualifications for that, the profile of it, you can go through a $7,500 3-month mentorship with me for $49.97 if you make a commitment today, or actually by next Monday. The link to do that and to have me at your elbow from November 15th to February 15th, once a week in Zoom calls and on call whenever you need to send me a text or ask me a quick question. If you want to do that, then we can do that for only $49.97, and you can do that in 2 payments if you like. So the link for that is right there, and I'll show you that slide again in just a couple of moments. But I'd love to have you in the program if you'd like to do that. And this will also, I'll make you a second offer in addition to this. If you do this at the $49.97 and decide you want to become a certified professional expert, the fee for that is $1,000, $250 application fee, $750 certification. If you want to do this, I will include that in the $49.97. So you save $3,500 off of what other people would pay by making the commitment by next Monday. And then when it comes time for the spring professional experts summit, which we've held in La Jolla, California, Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Santa Barbara, California. When we have the next one in the spring, and I haven't chosen the location yet, you'll be able to attend that at CPE alumni rates of half price instead of the usual rate, which is typically $7,500. So what all this means to you is when you're the speaker, the purpose of what you do is to make life better for other people. And the better you do that, the more satisfying and meaningful your life will be. And as you become that kind of a person, then you'll be the kind of speaker that you want to be. And that will draw to you the sort of things that you want to have. So there you go. Ta-da! That's the end of the formal presentation. Thank you very much, folks. There you go. I hope you got a picture of that in case you were doing that to follow up later. Let me entertain questions. I'm going to open it up. You can go ahead and open up your mics. The folks that we've got here, we've got 11 live on here now. Uh, 5 of us on screen. So anyone that wants to pose a question, by all means, raise your hand or let me know that you and we're ready to go. Barry, I remember being with you at Barnes and Noble in Oceanside, California for
That's right.
signing.
You know, we Barnes and Noble kind of changed how they invited us to do our book signings after our session. We
Did they?
created a bit of a problem for them, a little bit of
Oh,
excitement.
we kind of turned it into a show that night. We had a
Yeah, we did.
and we had a special cappuccino mix that was the Jim Cathcart specialty, for the book
Right.
signing, all that kind of thing. It was a cool evening.
It was
Eric
fun. Yeah.
Swanson put the whole thing together. So that was cool. It's good to see you here, Barry.
Thank
Robert,
you.
you and I were talking earlier, and it's so good to see you. Um, you're a certified professional expert. What's your take on all this that I've been talking about for speakers?
Well, I've known Jim for 20 plus years, and I love him and I respect him greatly. And this industry is very unique. I mean, it's very specialized, but yet it's diverse. And so, with Jim having the wealth of experience and success and reaching the pinnacle of virtually every possible situation you could be as a professional speaker, his wisdom is beyond the value. I mean, you couldn't pay enough really to get what he offers. And Dennis and I both have been in the masterminds, and we've been on Zoom calls week after week after week. And I've seen Jim not only give overviews of stuff, but then dive down deep into someone and help them specifically in what they're needing to learn. And the smile on their face after that he finishes, they go, "Wow, I never thought of it that way. Okay, I want to know more." And then he'll spend time with you to help you further what you're trying to go through. So I'm a speaker coach myself. I've got 140 speakers that I've worked with as a video producer back in the day and then coaching. And 27 of those are members of the Hall of Fame. So I've lived in that world as well as produced a lot of rock star documentaries of real rock star musicians and traveled with them and I understand what it takes really to be that unique, special, one-of-a-kind performer or artist of some sort. And Jim has the knowledge, he has the wisdom, and he's taken that same thing because he's also an exceptional musician, and he's applied it. You saw the versatility of his presenting and the locations and the types of events he did. Think about it for a second. You're in another country, you don't know how to speak the language, and yet you're speaking for 5 hours and there's a translator. Oh my goodness, I couldn't do it for 5 minutes. I wouldn't want to do it for more than 3 minutes.
Thank you.
So my point is, this guy is the real deal in every way. And the people that are in the CPE, you've heard about them.
Serious mind power. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are amazing.
Very, very, very iconic leaders. I'm just blessed to be a small little part of that in the latter part there. But it's been the best investment of time and money and talent and giving of services and so forth to be a part of this. And I would highly recommend it to anyone
Thank you, Robert.
if you fit the qualifications
I didn't
and
realize
willing to do what he's
an
calling for.
endorsement like that. I was going a different direction, but man, thank you, and thank you. Dennis, give us some quick thoughts. You've transitioned so much since the time we first met, and you've become not only more of an expert speaker, but also quite a substantial author. Uh, we've known each other for 16 or more years. What's your take on all this information? Not on me, but on what I've been sharing here and how it relates to the people who are watching.
I think it's closer to 20 years.
Is
It's
it?
been a long time, yeah.
Good.
And I would share this when I saw the invitation. I've been to many of Jim's meetings like this. I thought, I really need to go. It's been a while since I've seen Jim, and I always walk away with a jewel, something that I didn't know or something that that reinforces what I knew and brought it to the surface. Now, one of the reasons I should say that Jim and I have connected so well is something that I've done in my career, and that is to always examine the output. It isn't about the things that you do, it's the results that you get. And he has helped me reinforce that. And it really is the best way to think about what you do is what impact does it have on the audience? What impact does it have on the product? It's always looking at the output, not the mechanics of being on stage. And I really like the part about you're the one in control. I had a presentation not too long ago, a couple months ago. There are many disasters, but guess what? You have to be the one that makes it work.
Isn't that the truth? Well, thank you, Dennis. Gideon, you have a quick comment, or would you like to share something that kind of stuck with you out of what we were talking about?
This is all new to me. I work for a small town in North Carolina, so I have a lot of interaction with elected officials. So I think I'm a different audience here, but I do communicate with folks quite frequently, the public and everything. So a lot of meetings. So I like the moving pieces of the meeting, and knowing or reminding me that I'll have control if I'm leading that meeting, and knowing about the outcomes and outputs is very helpful as a
By the
reminder.
way,
Thank you.
what's the small town in North Carolina?
It's called Nightdale, so it's right outside of Raleigh, the
Oh,
capital.
outstanding. What's the name of that big steak restaurant on the edge of Raleigh? There's like something bull. I don't remember.
I'm
but
not
I
I'm
was
not
there
sure.
not too long ago, and you got some serious steak serving going on there. Um, Here's what I would like to do. I want to get just a quick feedback on the idea or ideas that stuck most with you. And we're at 12 o'clock my time, Central Time. So the official timing of the meeting is done now. We can only go a couple minutes more without inconveniencing people. But I would love to get some feedback on what were ideas that stuck. Barry?
Um, Knowing you, having, a relationship for a little while, what really struck me is you're saying the purpose of speaking is to make life better for other people. That never hit me. And since we met, I've done for years studied brain health with Dr. Daniel Amen and got certified as one of his Amen Clinic's brain health trainers.
Good.
And coming from an engineering background, I've had a bit of an imposter syndrome with getting out and sharing the message, and just hearing that
Thank you.
makes a difference. Thank you.
That was cool. Anyone else? What stuck with you?
I will agree with what Barry's saying as well as what you have said. And as what I teach and speak, coming from my experience working with so many speakers and then musicians and artists who have been successful, it is about delivering something for the audience. I mean, how many times have you been to a concert of a favorite band of yours you've heard something about, and you go there expecting to hear all the hits, and they're not playing the hits. They're playing something because they're tired of giving the hits out there. No, you need to feed your audience something that's going to be valuable to them. That means you need to research them, understand what their perspective is, where they are in business, what the company is. If they're a frontline employee and they're interacting with customers and prospects, that personality has to be right. You've got to give them the why, like Jim was talking about, but also the instructions of what to do. A lot of times we don't give enough instruction and we give too much why, or we don't give enough, vice versa. And so it's a matter of understanding exactly what's the perspective, what do they want, what are they expecting from me, and then define that, lay it out, and do it in a unique and in creative and entertaining way with great word pictures so they can understand it's not just a data dump. Some of my coaching was so much data dump from people. I was just going, oh, stop, just stop.
By the
Just
way,
tell me a story.
let me interrupt you because we're time crunch here. But I want to acknowledge another CPE who just joined us, certified professional expert Michael Graham from Westlake Village, California.
Michael,
My man, how you doing?
Thank you, Michael.
It's good to see you guys. I've been on hold for an hour. I've been trying to get in,
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Wow.
but it's amazing. It's amazing that I've kept it silent and going for an hour, even though I've not been able to get in. But you just finally popped up, so very good to see you guys.
Well,
oh man.
I apologize for not facilitating that better.
That's okay.
Wow, I had no idea.
I've been, good to see you. Very good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you. I've recorded the meeting and it'll be posted on Facebook and I'll put it in our CPE Facebook group as well. So
Okay.
it'll be good to go and you can tune in there.
I will definitely go back and listen to the first hour.
That makes my face red. I'm embarrassed and sorry you had that experience. Thank you.
I didn't mean to embarrass you. Sorry. I just wanted to
No,
know how much I wanted
you
to be a
didn't
part of your
embarrass
meeting.
me. I embarrassed me. All right. Well, folks, thank you. And if any of you find that offer appealing, by all means, get in touch with me between now and Monday, and let's get you in that mentor program and see how we can generate more revenue for you during this last part of the year. So the mentor program is going to go November 15th through February 15th, and the focus is going to be on what you need in order to get you individually to a higher revenue level during that time frame, especially during November, December. All right. Make it a great day, and thank you for joining me today on Cabot Roberts' birthday, founder of the National Speakers Association.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Great to see you again.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, buddy.
You bet.
Thanks.
See ya.
See you, Mike.